Hello and welcome to Tech Pokemon LC Draft Power Rankings. Very scuffed, and I have with me Henry and Leeson. You want to say hello?
Hi.
What's good?
Yeah. So, just a disclaimer: these are opinions, will not reflect performance during the season. This is basically just how much Ethan, like the teams because I made this slideshow, and I'm hoping the other two will criticize me on this because I made this at 2 a.m. and I
Oh, we will.
have not changed. So the first team we have here is Keaton's team, Woooooper, with a Dwebble, Nimble, Bramblin, Cottony, Sinistea, Terra, Flittle, and Rattata, and Baltoy. Unfortunately, they weren't able to draft on time, and so they got the scraps. They put together a team. It's not bad, but there's issues with it, I think. There's some pretty bad issues with it. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on this team?
I mean, I like double spin.
Yeah, spin is really good on this team.
Yeah.
With the double bugs. Also got spikes on Bramblin, Hazard Setter Dwebble, Hazard Setter in Baltoy, I think.
Yeah, but I don't see Dwebble being used for hazards. I think that thing's gonna click Shell Smash and just
I mean,
kill something.
he brought Hazard's Dwebble week 1, so
Okay.
it might be something that they bring occasionally. But yeah, Dwebble's their like best offensive threat on this team, I think. I mean, they've got some decent setup too, with like Flittle, Sinistea, Dwebble. Okay.
Cottony is also deceptively bulky because it can be a pain in the butt most of the time.
Yeah.
It's also got Prankster, which Prankster like Stun Spore. That's annoying. Not a lot of disruption, I think, off the top of my head. Just like with Bramblin Strength Sap, Cottony in general. I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, they've also got Priority and Nimble's First Impression, I think. It's gonna
Yep,
be
and Rattata Quick Attack.
Rattata Quick Attack, Nimble First Impression, Bramblin with Shadow Sneak, which does hit surprisingly hard.
Any of Cottony's status moves.
Yeah, that's going to be something that this team is just going to be very good with. Just being able to revenge things and just slow things down. The main problem with this team is just like, he didn't have much to work with, and looking at it, there is not a fire resist. There is not an ice resist. How many ice weaknesses does he have again? He has like 3 ice weaknesses. None of which are like bad mons, but like 3 ice weaknesses and then 2 bugs, 2 grasses, and no flying resist does not help either.
I'm not super aware of Little Cup, but I can say from experience, Shell Smash Poltergeist with Terrafite can be very strong. So I think we can see some of that as well.
Are you talking about Sinistea or Dwebble?
Either Sinistea, especially with Terra fighting Terra Blast.
Sinistea doesn't actually get Shell Smash.
Oh, I know Poltergeist does, so I just assumed.
Yeah, no, it gets Calm Mind, Strength Sap, and Weak Armor. So it's like
Okay,
Weak
so
Armor, Weakness Policy mainly.
otherwise, got it.
Or just like Offensive Life Orb or Berry or something.
Yeah.
I think this team really, really wants is a Fighting type breaker. Like a Fighting type or like a... Like, Kochny can kind of do it, but it really wants a Fighting type, I think. Because like, you have Nimble and you have Cottony as your Dark type answers, and then you have Sinistea, Flittle.
Mm-hmm. And Baltor is also dark.
Baltor's not as much of an offensive threat, but like, 2 of their best win cons just get stuffed by Dark types.
Yeah.
Henry, you got any thoughts on this?
Not really, not yet.
Okay. Well, in that case, I guess we'll move on to the next team. So, in 12th place, we have Elias and the Giratina Grovellers. For a team that used 10 less points than the cap, it's not a bad team.
Yeah. Although I think a lot of improvement would have been made if the Azurill was swapped out for something else.
Yeah, honestly, like, Azurill and maybe like Paldean Woooooper getting an upgrade to a better ground type because um, looking at this team, the first thing that comes to mind is, hey, we've got double water types, weak to electric. Like, electric spam just runs through this team, especially if they have a way to chip down Woooper, and Woooper is not very bulky.
Yeah.
I mean, Wingle's a fast pivot, that's always nice. Quaxley gets rapid spin, good for the team. Good for Torchic, especially. Torchic and Wingle being both Rocks weak. So, something that I'm just going to bring up now is Little Cup is a meta in which you don't run boots. You rarely run boots.
Yeah.
So having that spinner for Torchic and Wingle is huge. I think, like, let's see, how many of his mons are, like, setup threats? He's got Torchic. He's got Zorua. I don't know if Woooper gets Curse. If so, that's another one that can set up. Quaxley also gets set up. Wingle does not get set up. I do not believe Greavard gets set up. But that's like 4 mons with good setup moves.
Yeah.
And then Torchic can just be a game winner with Terra if it's played right. If they get a chance to Swords Dance or Growth, that can do a lot of damage.
I mean, you can also look at it like you could set manual rain with Wingle because Quaxley can become quickly
Yeah,
problematic.
I think we saw that in week 1. The manual rain Wingle just setting up the Aqua Cutter Moxie Quaxley. I think
Yeah.
if he got a spin off there, that would have just won the game. Zorua is pretty strong with like the multiple dangerous threats they have with Quaxley, Wingle, Torchic. It can really take advantage of that. I want to say the hazards are pretty good actually, with Aaron, Paldi, and Woooper being decent, and Quaxley.
Yeah.
Aaron being one of the few steel types in the tier too. I think the other thing I had to say about this team was it's not a fast team. Torchic is, I believe, 15 speed, Zorua is 16 or 17, Wingle is 19 speed, and Quaxley is 15. So this team is very slow. Most of it is under the standard 17 speed tier, which is, for anyone who plays level 100 tiers, 17 speed is roughly the equivalent to base 100 in level 100 tiers.
Yeah. But I mean, there are some things that you can do with the speed, like because the Wingle has Tailwind, or you can do Baltoy. Not Baltoy. That was the last thing, but Wingle can do
Wingle
Tailwind.
can do stuff. I don't know if Greavard gets Sand Rush off the top of my head. I can check that real quick.
It does, I know.
Okay, so we've got Sandstorm, Paldi, and Woooper as an option. There's some speed. We've got Torchic, which can get +1 speed fairly reliably. But yeah, before boosts, this team is not very fast. I think that's the main problem with this team. Others would be a pretty decent team. That and the electric weakness. Is there anything else you want to add, or we're moving on?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay, Jade's team. Yes, the double weather team. Picks and full picks. This one's quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. It's,
Got some pivoting action going on with Pancham parting shot, Score Bunny U-turn. Actually, Vale is really strong on this team with Alolan Vulpix, setting Vale for either the other Vulpix, Score Bunny, Pancham, Riolu. I believe Riolu gets Sword Stance. I could be wrong.
yeah.
Also on
It gets
momentum,
bulk up.
Piplup gets flip turn.
Yeah, Piplup gets Flip Turn. Yeah, that is... Piplup is honestly just a really neat mon, because Stealth Rocks, Knockoff, Flip Turn. Nice stuff there. Yeah, my main problem with this team is Rock's weakness. It's not weak to rock types because they're 2 fighting types, but if somebody gets up Stealth Rocks, their removal is Piplup, which is running Defog, and it can't always get rocks off reliably. It can't always get Defog off reliably. So I've talked about this with you guys before, but just for the people watching, the reason Defog isn't used in Little Cup is because it loses so much tempo. Little Cup is a very fast metagame, and with the speeds being so low, +1 speed is absolutely massive. The lowest speed mons with a +1 speed can often outspeed the fastest mons in the tier. It's like +2 speed in level 100, basically. Not to mention, HP is so low that doing rapid spin is going to do a good chunk of a person's HP, and it doesn't remove your own hazards. So, spin is just way better in this tier. There's also not very many ghost types. Yeah, the double weather is pretty fun though, I think, with like Vulpix score butting. I will say Vulpix is a little bit overpriced, regular Vulpix, because it's meant to go with Bulbasaur or like any of the other Sun Sweepers, and if it's not, it's not worth that much. It's really not worth 14 points, but I think this team will be able to make use of it.
Mm.
Yeah, just good pivoting all around. Got some decent enabling with Alolan Vulpix, and just a lot of damage output on this team. Like, Eevee is a mon that all it does is damage output. It'll
Yeah.
like, I don't remember if I banned Return. I don't think I did. If not, Return then Double Edge or Last Resort with adaptability, and that's just going to do a lot of damage. I think one of the things that I personally don't like about this team is it really doesn't have a Terra Cap.
Mm.
Because realistically, what are you doing with a Whirlpool? Yeah.
Oh,
There's also some structural weaknesses due to just having 2 fighting types, 2 fire types.
yeah, but I also kind of see that as somewhat of a plus in some situations.
Yeah, it can definitely be like a good like overwhelm your opponent type thing.
Yeah.
But this team doesn't really have the defensive tools it wants to make up for that. Like, your fighting resist is a Wurmple.
Mm.
Ground resist is a Wurmple. You do not have a flying resist. You also do not have a psychic resist, because Pancham is pure fighting. So, I don't know, that's just my thoughts on this team. You
Yeah.
guys got anything else?
Oh, no, that was it for me.
Double weather's interesting here, but like you can't bring both weathers to a game. So like you can't set Veil with Vulpix A and then let Vulpix
Yeah,
just.
that's also true. Actually, do we have species clause? I believe.
We do have species
Yeah, we do
clause
have
on
species clause, so
Doug.
that'll be a thing. As long as you prep for Veil and. Oh, yeah, that's something I. That's something I forgot. Since, yeah, we don't have a fighting. We effectively don't have a fighting resist, which means that Brick Break is super, super free into this team. Same with Psychic Fangs. You don't have a reliable way to punish either of those moves. Unless you want to bring, like, Terra Wurmple. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Number 10, we have Liam and the Bloomington Boulders. So at this point, this is where the teams are just, like... They're pretty scary, I think, from this point on. The other teams are good, but they're not scary like this team is, I think. And just looking at like the top point mons, we have Galarian Ponyta, Carvanha, Hisuian Voltorb, and Hisuian Growlithe. If you just had those 4 mons, that is a very scary team already. It's like, you tell me, what in this tier do you think is going to take a head smash from Hisuian Growlithe?
Yeah.
Exclusively Aeron, I think, can maybe take that, but
Sturdy mons, yeah, basically. I mean, not that Sturdy is bad. Sturdy's very good in this tier because of Berry Juice. But Hisuian Growlithe is a menace. Not to mention it also has Flare Blitz. We've also got the Carvana, Speed Boost Carvana with like Crunch. I believe it has Psychic Fangs, Waterfall. That can be dangerous to clean up a team. Hisuian Voltorb also cleans up really, really well with like Energy Ball, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Filler Move. You can like slap on screens or Thunder Wave or like anything you want in that mon. And then their first pick. Galarian Ponyta is a pure Psychic type. Psychic is a much better type in this tier, I think, than like in OU. Less, like, the main type trio is in this tier is you want to have a Psychic type, you want to have a Fighting type, and you want to have a Dark type. Those are the 3 things you have to have in this tier. Or at least some way to fulfill those roles. Yeah, Galarian Ponyta, Calm Mind, and then a move pool on the special side with like but Psychic, Fairy, Fire, Ghost, I believe, is more than enough to slap most things. Physical side has Psychic. I think it has Play Rough. And it has like Wild Charge, Stomping Tantrum, off the top of my head, and then Low Kick. I don't think Low Kick is all that good when we're dealing with babies. It's like very rarely useful. Terra Dragon Dance is always stupid. And I don't know. Sandy Gas is nice. I think we saw that come into play. No, never mind. That was not Sandy Gas that we saw. We haven't seen this team yet. Grimer gets Sticky Hold, so that's a thing. Can't knock off its Eviolite. It'll always be at max bulk. It's a very, very good fighting check, which is really nice for Carvana. Doesn't have to deal with Mach Punch as much. Carvana and Hisuian Growlithe really, really like Grimer and Sandygast eating fighting moves for them. Because while Galarian Ponyta can eat fighting moves, it doesn't really want to. It's like the mon that you keep in the back, and then when you're ready to win, you pull that thing out. Yeah, this team is very, very fast. Voltorb is fast, obviously. 20 speed. That's the highest speed in the tier. Ponyta at 19. There's like 4 or 5 mons at 19 speed. Hisuian Growlithe sits at a nice, I want to say 16 speed. Slightly slower than average, but very strong. Carvana, I don't know what speed stat is, but you get speed boost there. And then Jangmo gets Dragon Dance. Yeah, I will say you don't have great options for switching to ground types. You have like Terra Jangmo and maybe Pidove. You can kill them, but you can't switch into them reliably, which hurts Hisuian Growlithe a little bit, because that's like, ground types are the main things that are going to be eating head smashes. Though in all honesty, they may not survive, so.
Yeah. Also, a lot of their Pokemon seems to be weak to ice as well, for like water type Pokemon with their ice beams and stuff, or just a
Yeah.
fighting type with Ice
Yeah.
Punch. So like, Sandygast won't effectively block a fighting type if it carries like Ice Punch or something.
Yeah, that's true. If it's a fighting type with Ice Punch, Grimer can maybe handle it.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see where like Freeze Dry is going to be an issue, or like even just an Ice type with a fighting move. Honestly, like I don't think anyone drafted Cubchoo, but that would be a prime example of this, where it just goes Blizzard and then Superpower to hit the Carvana and Hisuian Growlithe.
Yeah. Let me check something real quick.
And no, nobody did draft
Nobody did draft
Cubchoo.
it because, yeah, Galarian Ponyta's the other thing that I wanted to talk about, because I did mention it a little bit, and while it does have fairy moves for dark types, it doesn't want to be the ones to beat them itself. It would like chip on those dark types to reliably kill them. And both Carvana and Galarian Ponyta really, really enjoy having the dark types chipped. Carvana can finish them off with Waterfall, and Galarian Ponyta can have more move slots open, because it always wants a ton of moves. Like, it wants Morning Sun, it wants Calm Mind. If it's physical, it wants probably 3 attacking moves and maybe a setup move. And maybe it still wants Morning Sun because of the recoil. So, not having a good fighting type to chip dark types or scare them out does hurt a bit. I think they'll be able to pull it off, though, with Galarian, Ponyta, and Carvana chipping the dark type for each other. Anything else you guys want to say?
No, that's it for me on that.
Okay. Actually, why don't one of you start on the next slide? Just look at the team. What if you start on the next slide? Just say whatever you have.
What? Because it's yours.
Yes. I have written my notes and because I personally think it's a bad team, but y'all can talk about what you think of the team.
Now I'm looking for it. Give me a moment.
I do have notes on the side and stuff. You want to just pick off of that?
All right.
To be honest, I didn't remember it was my team, but I don't want to be the one talking all the time.
Okay. Well, it is indeed fast and has webs, which is pretty good, especially since we do have a lack of webs users in general. Like about like seven or eight. Well, only like a few of them can be used well.
2 or 3 Weber users, and especially with like a lot of people not drafting good removal, webs are going to be strong, I think.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I don't even have to set webs. Just the threat of webs is scary.
Yeah. here?
About
We say
fast. It's my team's not actually all that fast. Looking at it in retrospect, I've got Cutiefly and Alolan Meowth at 19 speed, Cyndaquil and Spearow at 17 speed, Toadschool at 17, and then everything else is slow.
I think you would really need like a Pokemon who is like very usually like medium speed who would enjoy those webs nicely. It's a hard
Basically,
hitter.
Cyndaquil for me right now, because Toadschool's
Yeah.
not doing that much damage. It's like I have Galarian Farfetch, which is not medium speed. It's slow, but hits like a truck. Same with Skrelp.
But yeah. Hmm.
Got
See.
any notes, Leeson?
I mean, webs are always going to be infuriating.
Especially in this tier.
Yeah, and like Toad School, you have one of the best hazard removers, I'd argue. Um,
Yeah, I mean, nothing's gonna compare to Starmie or Staryu, not Starmie. But yeah, that's fair. Staryu and the real Tentacool is honestly a much better remover, I think, because it actually gets a move pool to speak of, can do damage, and doesn't have a hindering ability. Because Clear Body is super relevant, especially when you want to remove webs. Also, um, the whole Liquid Ooze being funny. I have like 3 pivots on this team. Spearow doesn't count.
Spearow's,
Spearow's
yeah, he's
realistically
there.
not coming to games. That's one of my problems with this team.
I think Alolan Meowth can be like a really good enabler for the setup that is here, just because Parting Shot is annoying. And
Yeah,
if you choose to EV it slow, you can usually tank a hit with that fur coat and then get out, so you basically get your setup mon in for free.
I don't think it gets Fur Coat.
So I just make assumptions based off of the
It's got
evolutions.
Technician.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Technician fit. I assume it gets fake
It's
out.
good. It gets Snarl, Fake Out, like filler
Yeah,
moves.
it
You
can.
can just like slot stuff on it, which is always nice. It's kind of like a weak jack of all trades mon.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's got Pickup and Rattled instead of Fur Coat and Rattled.
Oh, great. That's yeah. Pickup is an absolutely phenomenal ability.
Definitely. One thing that I'm going to say is the pivoting is, alright, not the pivoting, the breaking is really nice on this team. Between
Mm.
Galarian, Farfetch, Tyrant, and Skrelp, and also Cyndaquil to some extent, they all break for each other really well. Because, like, what stops a Tyrant? Steel types, because it wants to click Rock Blast, it wants to click Outrage after it's got a Dragon Dance up. You know what kills that? Cyndaquil. Galarian Farfetch kills that. Steel types also wall Skrelp to some extent, but it can also bait those and hit them with a Hydro or a Scald. What stops Galarian Farfetch'd? Psychic types. My Psychic type answer is a Meowth. That is not great. So, but as far as flying types, also not great. I take that back. It breaks really well for Tyrant and for Cyndaquil. Those two are going to be like really strong endgame mons, I think.
Yeah.
Farfetch'd is kind of on its own. It's got webs, and that's all it's got.
Yeah. It does have good breaking power, but however, like with the whole pivoting thing kind of existing there, to
Yeah,
get like Cyndaquil into a steel type, hoping that the steel type doesn't predict it or like
yeah.
try to do something else.
Eruption's nice, but it's like I do have to be careful with it, especially with priority in the tier. Eruption's not actually all that strong. Bulk on this team is not there. There is no bulk. It's like Toadschool Skrelp. Tyrant can be bulky, but it's never gonna be actually like set a bulky set. And the thing about what I was saying with like my team not actually being all that fast outside of webs is it struggles to like clean up games. I have to rely on like priority or like Meowth or Cutiefly, who's usually low by the time it gets to the end game to clean reliably. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about this. This team looks like it has good hazards because you've got like Cutiefly, Toadschool, Skrelp, Tyrant, right? We've got rocks, we've got spikes, toxic spikes, and webs. That's 4 hazards. The problem is, my only rocker is Tyrant. When is Tyrant running rocks? You tell
Never.
me. Toad School has Mycelium Mite, so not
Just a bad
ideal. It can set them, but it's not great at it. And then Skrelp is not coming often for 1. And for 2, it would rather nuke something than set toxic spikes. So sashes are going to be strong against this team if Toad School does not get a layer of spikes up. That and sturdy. I'm going to move on.
All right.
This team is fun. This is a really fun team.
Yeah.
Honestly. Sabrina and the San Antonio Sandiles. Yeah, as you can see, 5 different ground types.
Yes. This is power.
Yes. She knew what she wanted, and she went for it.
It also works probably most in her favor than Jade's firefighting doubles because ground is a much more difficult type to really counter against sometimes. Because you usually have like 1 or 2 water types at best, and people barely have a grass type. So there are all things to account for.
Yeah, this one's pretty good. Like, obviously there's some weaknesses to water, ice, and grass, but it covers those actually pretty well. If Wooper's running Water Absorb, it can handle water types. Oddish can also help with water types. Oddish helps with grass and water types. Bronzor helps with ice and grass types. Choodle can sometimes take an ice type move. It doesn't want to, but it can. As well as like a lot of the team just being straight up immune to sand helps too. So you get that little bit of like 1 damage chip, which can break sashes that aren't not sturdy but sashes, and generally make kills a little bit more reliable.
Yeah.
Because low tier damage rolls are kind of wild.
I think the chip damage will help out in like the long run, especially since we have a lack of weather setters outside of like Vulpix and Alolan Vulpix.
Yeah.
The others.
So auto rain, and both of the full pixes are taken by 1 person. And I don't recall if anyone else took Amora or Snover.
No, I don't think so. I think
Somebody really should pick up those 2. They're very strong on their own, and even better if you grab Cubchoo. Yeah, this team is actually very, very bulky. Bronzor gets Recycle, which is the premier recovery move in this tier. Berry Juice Recycle on Bronzor is incredibly, incredibly stupid. It also gets like Iron Defense, Calm Mind. It can just be a pain in your butt for a long time. Also hard to knock off because it'll consume most likely it'll consume that berry juice before you knock it off. Chewel got Shell Smash, that's a thing. Along with the Drillbur having Sand Rush. I think something that's fun is we might actually see Sandforce get some action.
yeah.
Sandforce Alolan Diglett might be an interesting bring sometimes. Got some decent speed, as well as like good with Alolan Diglett and Sandile being decently fast. And then it's got speed control with Choodle, Drillbur. Yeah, we've got that Trick Room option too with Bronzor actually. Slow Choodle, Trick Room Bronzor, Trick Room Oddish. Those Trick Room Hippopotas can all be decent. And with the bulk from Hippo, Woooper, Bronzor, Oddish, that's also nice. Drillbur's the removal on this team, which is both good and bad, because Drillbur is an amazing offensive threat, but you also have to be wary of, hey, maybe we'll want to keep Drillbur to spin off webs. This team does not care about Stealth Rocks, honestly.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if your opponent has a weakness to Stealth Rocks, they don't want to be up against this team. Anyone want to count the Stealth Rock setters here? Or rather, the number of mons that don't have Stealth Rock on this team?
I believe that is just Oddish. Maybe
Yeah.
Choodle.
Oddish and Woooper, yep. Those 2.
Okay.
Actually,
I
did
could
Woooper get it in this generation? I don't recall. Because I know it hasn't had it for a while.
It does have it, so it is
Nice, it got it in
exclusively Oddish.
Yep, it's just Oddish. So yeah, if you do not like Stealth Rocks, you're going to have a fun time. Yeah, one last thing is there's not a major fighting weakness. Actually, no, I take it back. Diglett, Sandile, Choodle, all are fighting weak, and its one resist is Oddish. And fighting being one of the stronger types in the tier, even if you're not weak to them, you would like to have a better resist.
Yeah.
That's all I've got for this team. Anything else you guys want to say?
Yeah. No. I think I said my.
Hey, Leeson, you want to start on this one?
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, you've got one of the best hazard removers, if not the best hazard remover in the draft in Staryu. Um, you've got incredible setup and into priority with Poniard. Sword Stance Sucker Punch isn't going to be something anybody really wants to fight.
It's also got
Um,
decent speed, I think, off the top of my head at 16.
I mean, I always like seeing a Mon that can go boom. Um, so C dot being there is, it's not ever going to be brought, but it could.
It already has.
Okay, never mind.
It came week 1, and it came week 1 and boomed on Apollo. It did some major chip and then just went boom and got a kill, so win for
Yeah,
C dot.
Bonsley can be tough to break, especially with sturdy berry juice.
Sturdy Berry Juice and boom.
Yeah, also boom.
He's got 3 boom mons, now that you mention it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he does. I do like the boom. And I kind of disagree with struggle with opposing waters because Staryu very much gets Thunderbolt.
Yeah,
Um,
I said it can. It depends on what moveset he runs, but like Ponyta Wild Charge, Staryu Thunderbolt.
yeah, and Staryu's gonna take it can switch in on any water move if it's running bulky.
Something funny to note is it does have a Trick Room option with Bonsly Head Smash. Meditite has Trick Room, Bonsly has Head Smash, Honedge is slow and can run Gyro Ball. Ponyard can also be running Trick Room, which is always nice. You mentioned Sword Stance Priority. There's actually three of that on this team.
I Poniard, Hone Edge, and then I'm not sure what that third one is, but I know you see it.
It is Ponyta.
I mean, does Ponyta even need to run priority though? Because it's just so fast as is.
It doesn't, but it can if it wants to. It's got high horsepower. Wild Charge, Flare Blitz is like mainly all it needs to run ever. And if it doesn't need one of those moves, it could easily give a move for quick attack to kill a Scarfer. Or Sword Stance, more likely. I don't remember off the top of my head if it gets Sword Stance or if that's just Rapidash. I think it gets it though.
I don't see it on its moveset here.
Okay, yeah, not Sword Stance, but Play Rough. Play Rough, high horsepower. Yeah, Morning Sun is nice for longevity.
You can just spam Flare Blitz without really any counterplay.
Yeah, no, it's just got good all-around stats. You've always got Flame Charge if you want to be even faster. I like this team a lot. For someone who said they've never played Conf, this is a very, very strong team. Coughing is a personal favorite of mine, with neutralizing gas just can be really useful in some situations. And then just Levitate fighting type counter is very good. Ground and fighting types are two of the stronger types, as always. Especially really helpful for Poniard and Ponyta to be able to just like switch into ground types with coughing, and then also just eat the fighting types for Poniard.
And also being able to burn them so that it's less dangerous for those guys.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the hazards are nice with Bonsly. Poniard can also hazard occasionally once in a blue moon. It's the removal in Staryu. I will say, without coughing, or if coughing wants to run N-gas, your resist is C dot. Your electric resist is also C dot, which is not ideal. C dot is not a bad. You can get a decent amount of value out of it. I just don't think it's a good one to rely on for electric types.
Considering it will go boom before you need it.
Yes, he does like Scarf Boom, or like I think he ran Growth Boom. That was his set.
See, that's funny if you can maybe set Sun, but
I think that game Apollo got a little too greedy, and just see that got to get up to +2 versus his +3, +4 Fletchling, and then he just went boom on it. Honestly, I really like the synergy like the top mons have. They just kill things really well for each other. Just like between pressuring water types, and then like smacking out rock types for Ponyta, it's just really nice. We talked about the priority a bit. The bulk is okay. I think one thing is like they don't have any like 17 speed, which can be a problem. Not all that much, not all that often. There's not that many 18 speed mons that this team will care about them being adamant or modest. Yeah, this team is really strong where it's strong, but then it has some really big weaknesses. High highs and low lows. We'll move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, William's team. William and the Turtwig Alliance. I'm just gonna say one thing, and then if you guys have anything else you guys want to talk about, go ahead. The main thing I want to talk about is this team is slow. All of his mons are like 16, 17, or 16, 15 speed, except Voltorb and Lichen. Lichen is their 17 speed at mon, I think. And then everything else is like 16 or 15 speed. And then Voltorb is 20 speed. So you've got Voltorb, the one special attacker, and the one fast mon on their team. So that can be an issue if they ever need speed control. Okay. You guys have anything you want to say about this team?
I also kind of see you list here ice and flying as an issue. I also see fairies as an issue, at least a little bit, because you're looking Scraggy, Axew, Stuffle. Like those three don't want to take a fairy move, and your resist is Litten, which can be good, but
That's fair. A lot of teams are actually pretty weak to fairy because of the fighting in dark requirements, but fairies are just so rare. You have
and
one of the few good fairy types in the tier. I don't know
I
if
mean if you
anyone else is realistically going to be able to take advantage of that. Although with Terra, it's not as it is a little bit more concerning, I think.
I see this team and I see Terra Blast Fairy, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it because if you can set hazards, like Litten's not going to be able to switch in more than like if you set rocks, probably switches in on 3 fairy moves if you're lucky.
I mean, Golett can probably help with that because Golett's always coming scarfed, and Golett's bulky enough without an Eviolite to take a few hits. I think I did mention vulnerable to faster scarfers and the rare fairy. A lot of these mons will get up to like +1 speed, and then they'll just sit there at +1 speed, like Scraggy Axew, and like sometimes Krabby will get to +2 with an agility. Turtle will get to a +2 with agility. The problem is like a lot of Scarfers will outrun Turtwig or Axew or Scraggy. Krabby might outspeed them, and a lot of like Scarfers will outspeed Scarf Golett too, which is not great. On that note, setup. Dragon Dance, just like going down the list. We have Dragon Dance, Shell Smash, Bulk Up. I don't know what Litten gets.
Parting shot so that something else can set up.
Yep. Screens Voltorb, that's a thing. Agility, Swords Dance Krabby, I believe.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Golett just runs Scarf. It can run Polish, I believe, but
Yeah, it can run polish, but
No, I think it lost it. I thought it lost that this gen.
no.
we're doing Nat decks anyway, so
Oh yeah.
the only like moves that are not allowed are like I want to say Pursuit and Hidden Power off the top of my head.
Yeah.
2 best cut moves.
Yeah, I didn't want to rebalance the entire tier list after I rebalanced it once, so I was that you can blame that on my laziness.
That's fair.
Yeah, we've got no removal on this team at all. Voltorb, surprise, the ball does not get the ability to spin.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, we've got no removal. I don't know
But
how much of an issue that is for this team, considering it's just Litten who cares about removal.
yeah,
Until you get into webs territory, but
only like you and maybe someone else has webs in general. I think.
honestly, Clear Amulet might not be bad on this team. With like, if they're coming into somebody with Intimidate or webs, these guys are all physical attackers, so it might not be a bad idea. About the hazard issue, they do have ways of getting around it, namely taunt, because nearly every single one of their mons has taunt. Although this team is like scary in the fact that if it does get set up, then you're gonna struggle. Strong team, but some big flaws again.
Yeah, if you can get the setup properly, then it becomes really dangerous. But getting there is the bigger issue.
It's got some decent bulk with Lichen, Turtwig, and Stuffle. Mostly physical bulk, but bulky nonetheless. I don't know what their hazards are. They're like Turtwig, Golett, I want to say.
Yeah.
Both of which can run hazards comfortably, which is nice. Because Turtwig is honestly still in this meta. I believe it had 13 speed, so it's just really slow. Shell Smashing gets it up to what
26
speed, which is outrun by a lot of mons, a lot of Scarfers. So it's not as good of a shell smasher. It can do it, but it's gonna struggle a lot. So Eviolite bulky is gonna be a thing that it does pretty frequently. Yeah, I think Leeson mentioned the parting shot, Litten, and Voltorb. Like both of the enablers just get good pivoting. There's not much pivoting outside of that, but the enablers have it, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
Because realistically, are you pivoting out of Scraggy? Are you pivoting out of Axew? Those are the ones you want in. We've got first impression Axew. That's a thing I forgot about. I believe Scraggy has Sucker Punch, so it's got some priority too. Do you guys have anything else you want to say about this team?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so in summary, this is just a big. This team is very much a brawler team. It's slow, pretty bulky, hits like a truck. It gets
But
set up
don't like
and
let that trip you over because if you let it slide, then it's gonna hurt.
yep. In fifth place, Apollo's team.
Yes. Now, before we start, I
Afro,
would like to mention
Grookey.
something real
Okay.
quick. That the possibly due to Apollo's own creative thinking, Anorith itself might be a bench warmer. Might be.
Yeah, that's true. Honestly, I can see it coming though with this team.
Yeah, it can. But
More specifically during webs, but one thing to note is Grookey is complex banned. Well, I should have mentioned that earlier with my team. We have Cutify cannot run Quiver Dance, and Grookey cannot run Grassy Glide because Grookey in Little Cup just already does so many things, and it's got priority and Fake Out already, that removing Grassy Glide stops it from being broken in draft. Leeson, you want to say anything about this team?
I mean, I really like the team overall. It has a pretty strong power level. My own like if I were to do one thing with this team, I'd like to see an unburdened mon or something that can really abuse the grass terrain that Grookey sets because Grookey can do it itself, but you'd want to see something else that can also take advantage of that terrain. So maybe trade Trapinch because again that anti synergy slide.
Yeah, I think he wanted like Drifloon originally, but it was already taken by the time it got to the third round because it was taken round one. Yeah, the Trapinch anti synergy hurts a little bit. This team would be really fun. And like Trapinch is a good mon, don't get me wrong. But when your main stab gets halved by Grookey, one of the best mons on this team, you're not gonna get as much usage out of it as you would like. All that being said, Trapinch is nice on this team. It doesn't trap as much as it would for other teams though. Because like, what is it trapping? Electric types aren't as much of an issue with Grookey around. Rock types also not much of an issue with Grookey, Krogunk, Tinkatink. Like it helps for Fletchling definitely. And then past that, there's not that much else you're trapping. You trap other grass types mainly with first impression. I don't know if that's needed as much because you've got your own Grookey with Acro, you've got Tinkatink, you've got Anorith, you've got Fletchling, all of which can just kind of do that for you. I guess it helps for Clauncher. Also Krogunk. I forgot about Krogunk. And then also just not that much pivoting, honestly. Grookey is the main pivot on this team. Clauncher and Fletchling can also pivot. Fletchling prefers not to because it would like to keep its Gale Wings intact and not take random priority or chip. I believe Clauncher can pivot, but it's not all that bulky and doesn't want to be doing it very often, so it ends up just being mainly Grookey. And Abra and Trapinch both really like pivoting, which kind of hurts them. They're not quite as good as they could be. But like you said, it has a very strong offensive like core, and that's really good in this tier. There's also the slight fire weakness of Clauncher being the one resist, and you have like Tinkatink, Krogunk, Grookey all being weak to fire. Anorith and Clauncher can usually revenge fire types though, and Trapinch can like come in and trap them after. That and flying types. Unfortunately, Tinkatink doesn't actually have anything to kill birds reliably. And then you have like Grookey, Krogunk, Trapinch, which all kind of get annoyed by flying types. Granted, you have one of the better flying types in the tier, but not having that, not having a good flying type answer does hurt a bit. You guys have anything else you want to say?
I think we covered.
Got anything you want to say about your own team, Henry?
Yes, I think this team is absolutely perfect with no issues at all. First and foremost, I think Kabuto, maybe sure, it's my only fire resist and is my only hazard setter. But at the end of the day, isn't that what it's all about?
You're putting a lot of trust in Kabuto.
Yes, I am.
Good to know. Leeson, you got anything you want to say?
I see a lot of momentum.
Yeah. This this team just pivots on you.
Yeah. Um, I honestly like all these high tier mons. They're high tier for a reason. Their Wattrel's gonna just make you want to die in general. Chino's stupid, annoying. Snivy is Snivy and does Snivy things. I think the one issue, like, yes, Kabuto could be threatening with Shell Smash, but because it is your only hazard setter and your only fire resist, if you Shell Smash with Kabuto and then let it die or only take a couple kills with it, you could end up in a really bad spot against those fire types or not having hazards.
Heads up, Kabuto does not. There's another one that does not get Shell Smash. Neither Kabuto nor Kabutops gets Shell Smash and never have.
I thought it. Okay, I could have swore Kabutops got it at one
Yeah.
point.
Nope, it gets Sword Stance Rapid Spin. That's the closest it's got.
Oh, okay.
Which is actually
I'm
really good on this one because you got Rapid Spin, Aqua Jet, Knockoff. You've got that's just like all around really good utility. You've also got nice Sturdy Juice and Magnemite, or just Scarf Magnemite, and you can like remove Steel types with Magnemite for Minccino and Snivy. That's really strong. Those two are just game enders. I don't know if Minccino got Sweep Up
tidy up, but
or yet.
Tell you.
Sweep Up is never mind.
Tell you.
I don't think he got Tidy Up.
yes, but
It does.
It does?
Yeah, I used the game one,
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah,
but yeah,
Tidy
I
Up
didn't
is
miss though.
Tidy Up. Okay, removal is actually really nice on this team then.
Mhm.
Kabuto Minccino. And just having Steel's chipped for a +1 Minccino to run Loaded Dice Technician between Bullet Seed, Rock Blast, Tail Slap. That's a lot of teams are going to struggle into that. Especially if Minccino gets +1. It doesn't need +1 because it's fast. But if it gets a +1, even better. Snivy too. Watchel also appreciates it somewhat. Although it doesn't care as much, I think, because it's got Thunderbolt as its main stab anyways. Harvest is a good pivot. Got Flame Charge too for setup options. I like this team a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
Figures you would.
I
Yes.
hope you would since you drafted it.
Yes, I did.
It's got a good overall average speed. It's got like it doesn't have a 19 speed mon, which it can be an issue. But you've got okay Scarfers. Not good ones,
Yeah,
but
it's
okay
like a
ones.
challenger.
Like not, Snivy and Magnemite are two like decent Scarfers. Yeah, this is just like the last bullet point is this team in a nutshell. Good team, just reliant on Kabuto. A lot of good synergy. Anything you want to say, Leeson?
No, I think we've covered. I don't know what Clobbopus does, but I'm certain it does something.
Neither do I, honestly. It's cheap fighting type, and that's about what you're gonna get out of it. It's not very bulky, but it's slow, so you'll just run Eviolite most weeks. Eviolite and hope you get a close combat or two off. Maybe you Terra Fairy or something. But yeah, this team does have a good, well, not good. It does have a fairy, so that is a thing. Maybe it'll be able to take advantage of some stuff with Flabebe, but I don't know. We'll see. I have not seen Flabebe get much good usage, so maybe Henry will be the first person we see get good
Yes.
usage out of Flabebe.
I will show you the flower power.
Yeah, okay, I'm biased. I'm just gonna say it up front. I'm biased towards this team because I made it. I helped Allison draft this team. This team is a little bit more technical in nature, which maybe was not a good choice on my part. But on the other hand, she wanted Diglett, and Diglett teams are always going to be slightly more technical because Diglett can't just switch in like a Trapinch can. It's too frail.
Yeah, it has roughly 3 defense and 3 HP if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty much. Pretty much. 30, yes.
Yeah, Diglett's always going to be annoying. It's going to take a kill if it can get in safely.
The thing about this team is it's not actually the main threat. You're like, yes, you want to get Diglett in to revenge things, but also Diglett itself is an enabler.
Yeah, Timber, on the other hand, is the main threat.
Well,
And
it's the
it's a
main
damn
breaker. I don't know if it's the main threat on this team, though. I would say Soland is actually the main threat on this team. It's fast, gets plot.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing, Guts more priority. Like, it's not.
Here's the other thing. Timber doesn't run Guts that often. Like, it runs Guts, but, like, how is it going to proc it reliably?
I mean, Flame Orb, and it's maybe not super reliable, but if you need a revenge killer, that's probably going to be Timber. It's like I don't see any other priority except for Rattata with quick
Squirtle,
attack and oh yeah, Squirtle, but
and then Diglett. So here's the thing: you're never worrying about revenging anything with Diglett. I mean, with Diglett on your team, Diglett will revenge anything and everything for you. As long as you got a little bit of chip on it, Diglett will kill it.
hazard denial with Natu. You have, I think, one of two magic bouncers in the tier in Natu.
Yeah, Nacho's the better one.
Yeah, I considered drafting the other one, and then I realized that it was just bad.
Yeah.
I want to say so. While this is a slightly more technical team, it's not a very hard team to run. I think it would have been a little bit easier to run if you didn't have Squirtle, because Squirtle introduces a major decision point into this team. Are you running Shell Smash or are you running Utility? And while it can, like Kabuto will remove rocks for you every day, all day. Squirtle, sometimes it'll remove rocks for you. Sometimes it wants the Shell Smash. Nacho is really good on this team. It's an amazing disruptor with Magic Bounce, so it can deny hazards for Squirtle to have to spin less. And, well, Diglett and Timber don't care that much about hazards, Salandit most definitely cares. Nacho doesn't always want to deny hazards itself, but it is a presence that you have to respect. Well, okay, it denies webs specifically. That's its main niche. It'll
Mhm.
deny most webbers. It's not going to deny rocks most of the time, and you're going to want Squirtle to spin those off and scare out any rockers, but if you want a way to deny webs, you've got Natu. And Natu also gets screens, U-turn, Thunderwave. Natu has such a big move pool, it's been banned in metagames like Inheritance, which gives Natu's move pool to other mons. And with Diglett and Natu setting up stuff like Timber Bulk Up or Salandit plots, or even Natu setting up its own Calm Mines, or Squirtle Shell Smash, this team can be very, very scary. It's also got decent priority in like Squirtle, Rattata, Timber, and Diglett. It's very physically oriented. That's something. But you do have to respect the Natu, Salandit, and Special Squirtle. The pivoting is like okay. It's there. It's not as good as I would have liked it to be, but between Rattata, Squirtle, Natu, you've got pivoting. You can get in Diglett fairly reliably.
There's also Blitzel, but I don't think that's being brought in most weeks.
Yeah.
Speaking of Blitzel, that is your flying check.
Yeah.
This is the issue with both Arena Trap teams. They don't have great flying checks. See, here's where Kabuto helped with that in the past, but we're with Squirtle now, so very strong team. Does require some thought into how you pilot it, because a lot of these mons can do so many different things. Like Natu, especially being just like super flexible, Squirtle being a major decision point on like what you want to run. Individually, the mons are all very strong. Pansage is a funny grass type. Pansage has got a surprisingly large move pool. Let me just pull it up real quick.
Yeah.
It's got Gluttony and Overgrow as abilities, so not great, but like you've got Acro, Crunch, Endeavor, Energy Ball, Gunk Shot, Knockoff, Leaf Storm, Spiky Shield, Seed Bomb, Shadow Claw. You've got decent moves. And then with Terra, it can get stab on any of those. It doesn't have Terra Blast, but getting stab on those moves is always nice. And just
I mean, do you even need Terra Blast with all that coverage?
yeah, that's true. You've also got Rock Tomb. So weaker BP moves are not that bad, I think. Like, yes, you want to use a higher BP because this is just super offensive, but Pansage I think is a decent user of Rock Tomb because it got okay speed, hits 17 speed, and it can Rock Tomb and then Rock Tomb again to get a kill on most flyers that it can bait in. I thought it had an electric move, but it does not, so that is a thing. It gets Plot, so that is something you do have to be aware of. Plot Terra Grass with Overgrow. Sounds kind of scary, I'm not gonna lie.
You could also, I'm not sure this would be a good set, but you could try to run it bulky with Spiky Shield, Leech Seed, Toxic. Like, that is an option. Toxic stall I know isn't very good, but
Don't think you run Toxic or Leech Seed, but yes, Spiky Shield and like Eviolite, it can do some work. It's still going to be running pretty offensively, but like you're running knockoff Spiky Shield, maybe Taunt and Synthesis. But yeah, you can pull that off.
I'm gonna need you to say that again, Chief.
Toxic is not good in this meta. When your HP is about 20, 1/16 of your HP is 1 HP.
Okay, yeah.
That's why leftovers are not good. I will say it for the people listening. Leftovers are not good. Don't run leftovers. You will get 1
Absolutely
HP
run
back
leftovers.
per turn. A move on average does 10 to 15 of your HP. Please don't run leftovers. You will be so much better off running Oran Berry Juice. Both of those give you more value in Little Cup because you don't have as much time in Little Cup. It's a faster paced meta. You guys got anything else you want to say about this team?
Mm. Me personally, I think this team deserves the #1 spot purely based on the logo.
That's fair.
Says the guy who
Does
made the logo, but you know.
have a very
Yes,
good logo.
indeed.
Yes, Henry and I are being totally unbiased here.
Yeah.
Leeson, as the only unbiased person here, do you want to say anything?
It's a strong team. It's got setup. It's got enough momentum that you don't you're not lacking momentum, and you're not wishing you had more. I think.
Allison, I hope you the best of luck with your hustle Rattata. Anyways, let's move on. Leeson, what do you want to say for yourself?
You can say, but
Maybe it may not be the best team,
It's pretty
but
darn close. It was a very close toss up to my 3 a.m. self.
believe it or not, the coach is an absolute insane individual and will come up with some of the most insane sets that you will
Yeah,
ever see in your life.
I will say I am not counting the coaches in this. I'm just talking about the teams themselves.
Yeah, I know, but
Because the skill level is something that will improve as the season goes on. Probably.
you have looking at this phenomenal momentum. If you ask me, you have U-turn, parting shot, U-turn, flip turn on the first 4 mods on that list.
Did Tenta get flip turn in this last gen?
Tenta got flip turn.
And then you've got Spritzy.
Yeah, and just I don't know if Spritzy has baton pass anymore, if it ever
It doesn't
did.
matter if it has it anymore.
It never had it.
Yeah, I never had it. It doesn't have teleport either, which is unfortunate. Imagine if it did. That would just make it such a good, like, even better of a mod than it already is. So Spritzy is arguably the best fairy type in the tier. Yeah. You got anything, like, you want to summarize your team? What do you
I
think?
think that first bullet point says it pretty well. Um,
Yeah.
yes, there are ghost types, and yes, there are rock and steel types. Not many of them.
Rock types are fine. Steel types, not so much. There's not many steel types, and he has one of the best ones. So
um, and
I looked to see when
also
he drafted Qfint, the other best steel type.
ghosts don't exist. Admittedly, for my last pick, or for that Phariseed pick, it was between Phariseed and Qfin.
Yeah, that's fair.
And like ghost types, you think, oh yeah, ghost types could cause a problem, but you look at Scrappy Talo potentially, or
Yeah, he's
Ghost
got
Immune, or
Scrappy Boomburst Halo. That's going to be an issue for a lot of ghost types. So Tailow's not actually running Guts. So here's the thing about Guts in Little Cup. It's not that good. Because item slots are so powerful. Because you've got items like Berry Juice, which heals you to full. You've got items like Eviolite, gives you 1.5 to both defenses. Life Orb, you, in general, on the right mons, you'll lose 1 HP. And so you can use that 19 times. And that 1 HP is negligible recoil for 1.3 times boost. That's also why we don't see choice items all that much, because Life Orb is just that good. So Taillow just running Life Orb or like Silk Scarf, Boom Burst is just going to be really, really strong. Hisuian Zora also hitting ghosts, Strudel hitting ghosts pretty well with knockoff, I think.
also look at there's not great hazard setting, with the exception of Phariseed, but hazard removal, you look at Tentacool, like, you look at Strudel, 2 grounded poison types, Toxic Spikes don't ever come in against this team.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean your hazard setting is like it's fine. It's nothing special, but you've got it. You've got T spikes. You've got spikes or stealth rock on Pharaoh Seed, but T spikes on Strudel or Tentacool is fine. Actually, does Strudel get it? I don't remember off the top of my
I
head.
believe it does.
I am looking it up right now. No, it does
Another
not.
plus. Oh.
It gets taunt though, so that's another method of denying hazards. I think a lot of your mons have taunt, so you can deny hazards as well as set them.
Yet another plus on this team, as I said with the C-Dot team, Ferroseed can go boom.
Yes, Ferroseed is actually not all that passive. It can hit pretty hard, especially with like Curse Ferroseed. That is a real set. Yeah, this team is very bulky actually. Tentacool, Spritzy, Ferroseed is very strong as a core. Ground types can be an issue for that core, especially because you have Strudel too. So this is where like that double poison comes into play. Ground types can be an issue. They do have to be wary of Tailo though. That's the main thing. And Ferroseed can usually take 2 ground hits fairly reliably if it's running an Eviolite or Berry Juice. Between like Spritzy, Ferroseed, Tentacool, that's just going to be a very, very bulky core. You can tank fighting moves for Ferroseed, you can take fire moves for Ferroseed. Both of them tank poison moves and steel moves pretty well for Spritzy. This is just all around a very bulky and good team, I think. Just you've got a lot of offense with those top 3. Tentacool, Spritzy, Ferroseed gives you a lot of bulk, and then you've got Dratini, the wild card, that can Dragon Dance and Terra into whatever it wants, or it can also just extreme speed Terra.
Yeah, it could just be Dragonite.
Yeah. So you've got options with that very strong Terra cap. I will say it's not as strong. I think it's a worse Dragon Dancer than the Jangmo we saw earlier because of its limited move pool. It doesn't actually get very many physical moves to run with that. You've
It
got like
gets it
Facade,
gets
Aqua
good few.
Tail, and Scale Shot. Those are its relevant moves. And
Bold
Extreme
of you
Speed.
to assume I'm not going to cook something crazier up with that.
That's fair, but it's not going to be like as immediately threatening without a Terra as Jangmo will be. It's got Shed Scale though. Shed Skin, sorry. Shed Skin and
Yeah,
Chemical Scale, so status will not reliably stop it. Not to mention, you could run special if you really wanted to. Its special attack is not bad. It doesn't have special boosting though.
okay, there's a difference between something I could do and something I should do, though.
That is fair. The main thing is like with Dratini, your Dragon Stab is Outrage Scale Shot, which is not ideal. You would like to have Dragon Claw in most scenarios, but you can make it work. I assume you will run Natural Gift at least once this season on Dratini. If you don't, I will be very disappointed in you. You've also got Terra Blast too,
Yeah, I mean,
and the real tech is Terra Normal, Power Herbs, Skull Bash.
wait, does it actually get a Skull Bash?
Yes,
Oh my god, it gets Skull. Okay, you should not have told me that because I will be running that at least
yes,
one
that's
week.
why I told you that. I want you to run it. It's got good speed. Strudel's got Unburden. It's not got a good way to reliably proc Unburden, I think, except for like normal gem, which is allowed. Normal gem was not cut. Other than that, it's not got a lot of great ways to proc Unburden. I mean, you can always run Berry Juice, but it's not that bulky.
And I mean, Prankster's also just great because it has
Yeah, that's true.
fantastic priority. It has great status moves.
That's true. I think just like the main thing that bugs me a little bit about this team is it doesn't make use of illusion very well. It can, but not to the same extent as a team with a stronger dark type. You don't really have much of a dark type. Well, you don't have a dark
I
type, period, but
I can say I took Zoroa less for illusion and more for the typing and being
yeah,
able to
that's
grab some
fair.
momentum with it.
I'm just saying, like, it's priced as highly as it is for partially because of illusion. Without illusion, it'd probably be like 11 points,
Yeah, but
12,
it
11
also gets
points.
U-turn, so you don't know what just clicked U-turn on you. So
Yeah, that's fair. It's not like a weakness. It's just something that I think could have maybe be done a little better, and it wastes a couple of points. I did say it can struggle with rock types, since a lot of what it wants to do is spam normal moves, but that's not going to be an issue for this team, I think, if he plays it smart, because there's just a lot of ways that this team can chip them down while keeping their normal spam intact. And we did talk
yeah,
about like Strudel Tentacool being making this team a little bit ground weak, and then just not having ground resists. Like, yes, ground types do have to respect Tailo. Not having another ground resist or something that can a little bit more sturdy and doesn't die to rocks would help this team, I think. Psychic can also be an issue with we talked about no dark type, but Spritzy and Ferroseed can take care of psychic types most of the time.
And Nidoran is warming the bench hole all season, probably.
Probably. I will say it has hustle, it has sucker punch. You may find a use for it.
Knowing my luck, I'm gonna miss 5 sucker punches in a row.
I brought Terra Nidoran Male more than once in some of my games where I had it, so it's not that bad for a 2 point. It's not good. There's a reason it's 2 points. We'll leave it at that, I think. You want to say anything, Henry?
I am morally horrified on all fronts.
What do you
Purely
Okay.
by this man alone.
Are you ready to see the top team?
What do you mean ready?
Well, we're going to see it anyways. This is possibly the most brain dead team I have ever seen, and that is a good thing, because that just means there's that much more room there's that much less rooms for things to go wrong. We have gotten Glimmet as our hyper offense lead for hazards. We have gotten a Dewpider for webs and an Impidimp for screens. And then we've got Shelter Shell Smash, Drifloon Unburden, and Simple Numal, along with a Bulk Up Crabrawler and Simple Woobat. But Woobat is so much worse than Numal, honestly speaking. Yeah, this is a team of all time. This is the scariest team, not because it has good synergy. This team does one thing and it does it very, very well. Just the
I
sheer simplicity in clicking buttons is the reason this is the top team.
I can say that this team does scare me. I'm playing this week 1, and yeah, any of the leads are problematic. Whether that's Webb's Dewpider, just Glimmet being Glimmet, or like Impidimp, or even some setup lead that I'm not expecting. Like, there's nothing that, like, I feel like this team can win and lose on team preview.
Yeah, that is very much true. Although it's got so many different setup threats, it's probably not losing on team preview. In a lot of cases, it's gonna come down to, hey, did I slap Mirror Herb on this one?
Yeah.
That's what this team is gonna be about a lot, I think. That and Brick Break.
Yeah, and Impidimp is one of the best setup facilitators I'd say in the game, just because screens into parting shot is.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't
there's
think
Brick
it's as
Break.
good as Grimmsnarl, but it is definitely good. I do
Hmm.
want to talk about Glimmet a little bit. Glimmet is not a lead, or rather, it's not solely a lead. It has a really good special attack and a decent speed stat. Please don't use Glimmet as just a lead. It's got a move pool. It's got enough special attack to just be a really strong special attacker, especially behind screens or behind webs. That thing is going to smack through teams if you let it.
Oh, I know. I used Glimmet in a 350 cup, and it was stupid.
Yeah, yeah. That is a mon of all time. It's got, I believe, 17 speed off the top of my head. So, not slow. No, 16 speed, that's my bad. It is slightly slower than average. But it's also got base 105 special attack. I just want you to think about that for a second. You know what Dragon type uses mixed attacks, or did mixed attacks fairly frequently? Or, hell, some
Silence.
dragon types that are purely special attackers. Say, Dragapult with 100 special attack did special attacking things for the entirety of Gen 8. Dragonite ran mixed special attack for a lot of its lifetime.
Salamence is running mixed now.
Salamence has 110, so like slightly more.
Okay.
But this has a special attack comparable to fully evolved pseudo legends.
Well, fully evolved physical attacking pseudo legends, but yes.
Well, okay, not all of them are physical attacking, and Dragonite doesn't have that much higher on.
Yeah.
And
But, like, no, this
Dragapult
thing
definitely
has.
wasn't a physical attacker for most of its lifespan. It still isn't a physical attacker.
That thing is a support mon, and you can't change my mind.
That is fair, but it is also a very good special cleaner. That is what it does.
Yeah, no, but that Glimmet, yeah, that has the highest special attack in the format, tied with Abra and Solosis.
Yep. It doesn't have Magic Guard Life Orb, but it doesn't need it. It's
Yeah,
got
and
a really good stab combo and then Earth Power.
And coverage is absolutely insane. Yeah.
You talked about liking Boommons. There's your Boommon.
Yeah.
Yeah, special coverage gets. It can also, if you want to be silly, you can also run Power Herb and Meteor Beam, or you could run Acid Spray if you also want to be silly. But oh, sorry, I take
Hey,
it back. It
don't.
doesn't have Earth Power. It has Dazzling Gleam, not Earth Power, and then it's got Mud Shot. So it's not mind-blowingly strong. Not like I just want to say this has more special attack than Ghastly, which got banned repeatedly. More
Yeah, I will
special
say
attack
the.
than Misdreavus. Misdreavus got banned with 85 special attack. Ghastly had 100. This has 5 more special attack than both of those. Sorry, 20 more special attack than Misdreavus, 5 more special attack than Ghastly. So this is a very strong mod.
My one knock on this team is if Drifloon's gone, you do not take normal moves. Glimmet is not going to take a strong physical normal.
You don't take fighting moves that well without
Yeah, you don't
Jupiter.
take fighting moves either.
Jupiter is your fighting answer here.
As is Drifloon, but again, I feel like you've always got a game plan around that.
Yeah, well, okay. In most cases though, Drifloon is not gonna be your first mon out.
Yeah.
First one down. It's not usually gonna be the first one down. It's gonna be a constant pain in the butt throughout the game. Yeah, it's also another boom mon.
Yeah, it doesn't have Strength Sap, which is important to note.
Yes, it doesn't because acrobatics is one thing that it has, which is pretty scary. 110 BP flying stab off of an unburdened mon is always pretty scary. It's also got all mine off the top of my head, so air slash shadow ball can be a thing. I want to say shelter is pure normal, so it does. I mean pure water. Sorry, not normal. My brain is fried. It does not get stab on icicle crash and rock blast, so it is slightly weaker, but it's gonna still hit pretty hard. And it also doesn't have the weaknesses of being weak to stealth rocks or fighting types. So, honestly, a pretty good trade for it. Yeah, this team does not like electric types. Between Drifloon, Shelder, Jupiter, and Woobat, you don't like taking electric types. The only thing that electric types have to be wary about is Numel. If they have a water type, Numel is not that scary. Or if they have water type moves, sorry. Numel can be dealt with before it Terras. The main problem is if you don't, you have to be really careful bringing your electric type in because Numel gets a Trailblaze or Flame Charge up, and suddenly it is fast. You can still outspeed it with Scarfers because it has a low starting speed, but it'll be fast, and then it can also get a growth up and just be +2, +2, +2, all of its offensive stats. So that is a very scary thing, especially behind screens. I think rock types can also be an issue because Crabballer is your one resist, and you may not. I mean, you'll usually bring it. I think you're usually gonna be like alternating between Impidimp and Dewpider. You're not usually gonna bring both at the same time. Yeah, Crab Brawler is the one rock resist. It is a very good rock resist, but it is the only real rock resist here. Removal can be an issue. Glimmet does not get Mortal Spin, and Shelter does not like spinning. So get rocks up against this team. It will serve you well. Yeah, this team just does the hyper offense setup super well, I think. I did write that it can be vulnerable to priority. The main problem with that is they're behind screens most of the time. So you have to find a way to deal with priority and you have to like have the priority and then also be able to get through screens and do enough damage that the priority can actually pick it off. I think the other thing this team has is it's slow. There's nothing that has like I think like 17 speed. It's really, really slow. The problem is that it can set up and just become blazingly fast. And it's got Prankster. Okay, I take that back. Drifloon is 17 speed. Drifloon is your sole fast-ish mon. Also, don't sleep on Jupiter if you're facing this team. That thing hits like a truck.
Yeah, Water Bubble's kind of dumb.
Especially when, like, yes, Araquanid has bad stats. It has 70 attack. But in the context of Little Cup, Jupiter's stats are not that bad. They're not good, but they're not that bad either. Which means doubling them makes them more than good enough. You got anything else you guys want to say about this team?
No.
Yeah, so this is Tech Pokemon's Little Cup Draft League Power Rankings, Scuffed Edition. Thank you, Leeson, and thank you, Henry, for being here with me, even though I was the one
Yes.
talking for most of the time.
Yeah.
You guys got anything you want to say as we wrap this up?
Go Brooklyn Bellibolts.
Yeah.
I have no doubt y'all will do well
Where
this
that man
season,
over there?
and I hope y'all have fun with this.